Hello, everybody. It's Amy Armstrong here. I'm a root cause protocol consultant and also a member of the RCP community. Today, I am sitting down with Will Evans. Hi, Will.
Hi, Amy. Thanks for having me.
So today, Will is going to share a little bit about his experience in using the RCP, in how he came across the RCP, and how that led into him studying to become a root cause protocol consultant himself, and how he's using his newfound knowledge personally and professionally. So let's just get stuck in, Will. Perhaps share a little bit about yourself and maybe your own health struggles and how you came across Morley and the RCP.
Yeah, so my name is Will. I was actually part of Group 14 with my wife, Rachel, and we actually just welcomed our first baby, our first child. He's 1 month old today, which means I have not slept in 1 month. So I look a little tired. That is why. But yeah, really excited to be here. So before the RCP, just kind of a quick backstory on myself. I grew up, I think, like a lot of kids in the States. I grew up with the SAD diet, the standard American diet. So a lot of processed foods, cereal, breads, pops, stuff like that. Looking back, it's almost kind of interesting that I was able to grow and mature based off the diet that I had. But yeah, growing up, I didn't have a lot of really glaring health issues, or at least not that I was aware of at the time. But looking back now, I definitely feel like I was maybe sick more often than I should have been as a kid. A lot of social anxiety, really struggled with sleep. And then as I grew and got into my teenage years, I really started getting hit with more fatigue. At the time, I probably didn't really know how bad it was or that it was an issue, but I remember just really struggling to stay awake in class. Actually, sometimes I wouldn't stay awake in class. And I remember in a lot of social situations, even I was just always yawning. I would just always be yawning. People would kind of look at me and be like, geez, am I boring you? Or, oh, am I keeping you awake? It's not the most polite thing to be yawning during conversation. And I remember that kind of started like triggering light bulbs, like, maybe this isn't so normal as a teenager to have such fatigue. But looking back at my diet, it kind of makes sense. And then fast forward a little bit, I was an amateur boxer throughout my teenage years. And I think the amateur boxing really instilled a lot of discipline in me. And I really loved the exercise of it and the competition, but really my diet stayed really poor through the whole time. And then when I got to be about 18 years old, I really so my dream was to be a professional boxer, as weird or crazy as that might sound. And then when I got a little older, about 18 years old, it really kind of hit me like, I think I need to step my game up. I need to eat better. I need to just stop eating Taco Bell and garbage all the time. So that kind of sent me down really a rabbit hole of just researching diets and exercise programs. And that kind of just naturally evolved into a passion of mine. And so, yeah, I've just, really fell in love with researching and implementing different health protocols. And so, eventually that kind of led me to more of an overall passion to just not so much fitness and athletics, but just more overall health and longevity.
Yeah. And so with that interest in mind, what made you take that jump into the world of minerals and how did that lead you to finding the root cause protocol?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't even remember exactly who or where I found the RCP through. I remember just throughout all the years of just reading and researching, health stuff, I remember stumbling across the topic of iron overload. At some point I had read Jim Moon's book, Iron, the Most Toxic Metal, and it just kind of clicked.
Yeah.
But I never really dove too deep into it until about 2014. I did my first blood donation. And I remember the place I was working at the time, every so often the blood donation bus would pull through the business park. And one day I just went and did it with some coworkers just to, give back, be a good citizen, that kind of thing. And some of my coworkers had done it several times, and they were kind of, because they knew I was kind of like a, health nut, I guess. And so, they were kind of making comments like, oh, I bet Will's going to have the fastest donation time. And I didn't really understand. I didn't understand what that meant, or why maybe being healthy would result in a fast donation time. But long story short, I did not have a fast donation time. They actually were, I think they have like a 20-minute like time limit that they'll cut you off at, and they won't use your blood. And I remember I just barely squeaked through because my blood was so thick, they said. And I also remember kind of the pre-physical where they prick your finger and check your hemoglobin. I don't remember exactly what the cutoff was. I think it was like 18.3, maybe somewhere around there. And I was 18.2. And so I remember that as well, the nurse being like, ooh, you just barely made it. Today's your lucky day. And so, yeah, I remember walking back to my desk after that, and in my spare time at work, I just immediately, like, the iron overload topic was kind of like came back in my head. So I just started looking up iron overload, because I didn't, and it's not like the nurse told me I was iron overloaded, but just the way that first donation wasn't so smooth really got my wheels turning. So yeah, and I think, as best as I can remember, that kind of led me to some different health forums. And I remember people talking about Morley and the full Monty iron panel being, a more comprehensive blood test. And so, yeah, I think that was more or less my introduction into Morley, and the RCP was actually the blood test.
Yeah, and I guess for those of you listening who don't know or haven't heard that expression of the full Monty iron panel or blood panel, you can find it on the website, and it's actually, as RCP sees, the panel that we use to have a more comprehensive look at your iron markers and your copper iron dysregulation, rather than what you get in the doctor's office, which is typically ferritin and maybe hemoglobin. I don't know about over there, Will, but that's certainly the way here, that they really focus in on those two markers alone, which do not give you enough information to really assess your iron homeostasis. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember when I kind of got turned on to the topic of iron overload, it made so much sense to me, especially when you think of iron fortification and all the supplements people take. And I remember I would tell a lot of family and friends about this topic. But when they would counter with, well, I'm anemic, or I have low iron in the blood, I didn't know how to explain that, none of that made sense. So yeah. And then once, I started hearing Morley on more podcasts, and reading some of his articles, it was really just like, wow, like, this guy knows what's up, this is who I need to refer people who are struggling.
Sure. It just makes so much sense, doesn't it, once you hear it? Okay, so I guess you were already on this path of, really looking at optimizing health, and you just sort of intuitively obviously knew that, iron played a part in that. So I'm curious what sort of benefits, once you'd started the root cause protocol for yourself, what sort of benefits were you seeing from doing that?
I would say the biggest benefit has been energy. So yeah, I'm 39 now. I turned 40 in about a month. And I can honestly say now I have more energy than at any point in my 20s, most of my teens. Again, I'm not just like yawning all day as people are trying to have conversations with me. So yeah, definitely energy. I would say one of the biggest struggles that I've had throughout my life is sleep, and sleep has definitely been improved. Not so much lately with the newborn, but that's okay. It'll get back up there.
Yeah, it will.
And I really just feel like I have say it again.
Give it 10 years.
I'll say that. Yeah, and I guess the other thing would just be, I feel like I have a much better ability to withstand stress. So especially, the last couple of years have been interesting, to say the least. And I think it's impacted everyone, no matter, where you fall, what your beliefs are. And of course it's been stressful on me, but, or there's been times it's been stressful, but I really feel like I've handled that stress much better than I would have before.
Yeah.
Just I feel like a calmer person.
Yeah, and that's something you hear so often, but it's also something that's really hard to explain to people is that, that you can react and metabolize stress better. And I feel like people have a hard time making that connection to what's going on with your minerals inside of you. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. So, amongst living on planet Earth for the last 2 years, a newborn baby, hitting that 40 where it's all supposed to be downhill, in the face of all of that, you're actually feeling better than you were in your teens. So there's definitely something to be said for that, isn't there?
Yeah, very, very grateful for that, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Okay. So take us then into, obviously you're on the root cause protocol for a while, and you've decided then to go back and actually formally study the root cause protocol, although it sounds like you'd already probably taken a fairly deep dive and done a lot of listening to Morley and reading of his work. But how did that come about that you made that decision? And obviously, it's interesting that both you and your partner decided to embark on that journey together. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so yeah, my wife Rachel and I, yeah, she did the training, and yeah, we're really a team, and it's awesome. I feel very blessed. We have a lot of the same interests, and we've worked together for years. We've had our foot in a few different rings, so to speak, but we've done some personal training and some different online health coaching, accountability stuff. But yeah, kind of listening to Morley for a couple years, reading some of his articles. It really didn't hit me until last spring. I think I was on the website, and I don't remember what I saw, but it was just kind of like, oh wow, the RCP has an official institute, an official training program. So, once I saw that, I looked at my wife and I said, I think we should do this. And yeah, she was 100% on board, because she's been doing a lot of this stuff with me, and she's been donating blood since about 2017, and yeah, reading a lot of the same stuff, same interests. So yeah, we really just that day we were like, well, let's just do it. It's another feather in our cap to help family, to help friends. As nerdy as it might sound to some, like it really is a big passion of ours to just learn all this stuff and kind of geek out in the natural health world. So yeah, it really is a passion of ours. So we just pulled the trigger, so they say, and just jumped right in.
Yeah. And how did you find the process, and the sheer amount of information and studies that was thrown your way throughout the course? And even tell us about what are your thoughts on the tutors and the tutor groups and the community?
Yeah, it really exceeded all of my expectations. I mean, I think just the amount of pre-recorded materials to read, materials to listen to, I think that in and of itself is worth the price of admission. And then the live classes, the live tutor sessions, actually getting to ask questions live, talk to Morley, and then really, going into it, we didn't know, of course, what to expect, but getting to know Chris Tan and some of the different tutors, that was amazing. I mean, just so many different skill sets, so much collective knowledge. It was amazing. And, Chris Tan, I would say, has a really great ability to keep, because some of the stuff, I don't know, I'm sure you can relate, once you really like dive into all this stuff, at times it can be pretty intense. Once you kind of start to see what's really going on in the world, what's been done to our food system, like sometimes for me, it can get a little intense, but she has a really great ability to just kind of keep things like calm and, more even keeled. So that was a good influence on me. But yeah, there's so many different people in the community that I learned from.
Yeah. Yeah, and it, that gets mentioned time and time again through sitting down and chatting to people like yourself, is how important that's, after you finish the course, it's not just a done and dusted and information to sit on the shelf. There really is this sense of community and people within the health professions and within the health world, and also, just like mums and dads and people who did it for himself, but everybody kind of brings you know, something to that community. And it's, yeah, it's, I definitely get something from that ongoing, you know, even though I haven't gone again and studied in Group 16, which I really would have liked to do again, because there's always new information coming through and it's a really good way to stay abreast of all the research. But, you know, you can get into the community and talk to people on the forum.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just to get so many different perspectives, you know, talk to people from around the world. I think, yeah, now that I think about it, I don't know before this training if I'd really communicated directly with people around the world before, you know, just, I'm in America and that's all I know. But yeah, to get to know people in Australia and the UK and all around the world, like, yeah, it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, it is. It is really cool. I do love that. You know, talking to people from, you know, all corners of the globe, and it just seems to be growing and spreading. And yeah, it's really cool. The wonders of modern technology, I guess. So what's your plan, Will, with you and Rachel? Obviously, you've worked in the health field for a while. You've been helping people, helping clients for a while. How is this knowledge adding to your, you know, your services, or, you know, to you professionally, and what are you hoping to do in that space, and what are you doing, I guess?
Yeah, so right now, yeah, we're definitely taking what we've learned and, you know, doing our best to help really as many people as we can, you know, in all honesty, with a newborn and just some other, you know, responsibilities that we've had, different, you know, work, different employment type things. We haven't been able to hit the ground running super hard yet with our consulting business, but that is definitely in the plan. And we have launched our own, we'll call it, you know, consulting business, really prioritizing a lot of what we learned through the RCP. And we do have a few clients that we've worked with more officially. You know, of course, we've always talked to family and friends about it, but family and friends can be tricky. But yeah, officially we've had a few clients, and yeah, it's been great. Everyone's been really receptive, and the results people have been getting has been really great. So that's been awesome to see, specifically with regards to energy. Like, that seems to be the quickest thing that people seem to, at least that we've seen and worked with, respond to, is just really get that uptick in energy, which, yeah, I know a lot of people today definitely struggle with.
Yeah, it's I would say for myself, you know, most of my clientele come with low energy, and sometimes that's all they're coming to you for. That's what they recognise as being their biggest issue, is their energy. And it's you know, it works for that, doesn't it? Like, it works to create more energy in your body. And sleep would be the other one that I really notice within clients as well, that really can improve really quickly. So that's really cool. And of course, you know, you've got this wonderful RCP baby as well, that you get to, you know, apply all this newfound knowledge to, and hopefully, you know, change the trajectory of you know, your child's health early on. Because I guess, like you know, I had you call it the standard American diet. Well, I had the standard Australia diet, and it was the Australian diet, sorry, and it's still a sad diet. So, you know, that ripple effect we can create in our own family, let alone in the wider community, I feel, I feel very blessed for that. I'm sure you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel very grateful for this knowledge, the opportunity to help others, and it's awesome to know that our baby boy has been on the starts and stops from day one. So
yeah, absolutely. Very lucky little bubba. So I guess to wrap it up, Will, the last question I'd really like to ask you is, I guess if you could just describe briefly, I started off saying in a sentence, but it's just really hard. If you could describe briefly how the RCP has changed your life, what would you say?
I would say I just feel very grateful knowing that I have true direction. You know, again, you know, like, I think a lot of people would agree, when you kind of have this passion and you're always researching. And I think so many people today are confused. You know, you hop online and you look for an answer on a topic and you look at 10 different resources and you're going to get 10 different answers. So I would just say, very grateful that I have direction and that I know the fundamentals and I know that this works.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a minefield of information out there, isn't it? And you're right. I think the RCP just brings so much clarity and just really simplifies it, doesn't it? We tend to, I don't know, we tend to make it hard for ourselves, but it's just about getting back to basic nutrients.
Yeah. And I think as humans, we have a tendency to want to overcomplicate things. And I think even Morley's talked about, I mean, you can take this as deep as you want to, but it's also very simple for people who just want to be told what to do. It's laid out right there, the starts and stops, the RCP handbook. So it's, I think it's foundational, and if people just give it a chance to work and just take a little bit of time, I think they'll see really quickly that it all makes sense.
Absolutely.
And it does work.
Yeah. And it's free. This information is there free, and not much is free anymore, particularly in the health world.
No. And I think that was another thing that really pulled me into this community specifically, was just knowing that, you have the starts and stops, and there's the recommended, as far as the starts, there's the products they recommend, but, there's not the fact that the RCP wasn't selling a lot of supplements or like specific RCP supplements. I think that spoke to me, because you can find a lot of stuff out there, a lot of people on social media that, everything they say, you can see there's a supplement behind it that they're selling. So for me, the RCP was really about, and is really about, community and education.
Absolutely. And I found the same. I think that was part of the attraction. I found it very transparent as well. And I remember very early on, hearing Morley, I can't remember specifically what it was, but hearing Morley, say he got it wrong and, change his thoughts. And I thought there's something to that, because, it can be tricky to peel back the layers to find out, what people are selling behind their recommendations. So I found that honesty and transparency was really, really what attracted me as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this chat. And I wish you and Rachel all the best with your bubba. Fun times ahead for you there. So thank you for taking the time to join me today.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was an honor to be here.
Yeah. Cheers.